Awesome. So welcome back, guys, to part number 3. And so the main topic is conflict and relationship. And we've already discussed, is conflict a sign that you should leave your relationship? That was part 1. So if you haven't seen this, we'll link it somewhere below this video so you can watch it. Part number 2 was conflict in a relationship. If you are a nice guy, that means if conflict triggers you a lot and you basically want to do anything to avoid conflict in all your relationships, then that's part number 2, which will also be linked somewhere down there. And now part number 3 is conflict in light of the purpose of relationships. And there's also going to be nuances again that we wanted to tie in there. But the main question here, or the premise, is, first of all, what is the purpose of a relationship? And then how does conflict play into that? So maybe Leo, and I know we've touched on that previously in some other videos, but what do you feel is the purpose of relationship? All right, super quick before we dive into today's content. If you are looking to become a truly high-value man, if you want to become the best version of yourself as a man, the highest potential you can possibly reach in this human form, and you also want to have amazing relationships with other people, with women in particular, if you want to learn how to have thriving, healthy, passionate, deeply fulfilling relationships, then don't forget to subscribe below this video, hit the notification bell so that whenever we post a new video, you will directly be notified. And also like this content if you enjoy it, right? If this resonates with you. And then don't forget to leave a comment, anything that you find valuable, anything you want to share from your own personal experience, post it below the video and I'll be sure to check it out and respond to you. And then lastly, we do have an exclusive Facebook group, which is also linked somewhere below this video. Go check it out, join the Facebook group. I'll be doing exclusive live calls on there where I'll be sharing some of the most transformational tools that have helped me on my journey, that have helped Leo on his journey, and obviously a lot more stuff that I'll be discovering, that I'll be sharing with you only inside the Facebook group. So without further ado, enjoy, and I'll see you there. Peace.
I have a feeling that we will have different opinions on this one, but because I want to avoid conflict, I'm gonna say what I think you think. Yeah, no. For me, I can't create an ideal description of what I think is the purpose of the relationship in terms of I'm not going to relationships to get something out of it. So I feel that when we think about the purpose of it, there is a hidden or kind of like an idea behind it, that there is something to get out of that relationship. And I think each relationship will give you something different, and each relationship will have a different meaning for a different process of your life. But you only find that out when conflicts arise. Yeah, so that's...
That's interesting. Can you elaborate what you mean by that? Like when conflicts, only then?
So, well, when conflicts arise in a relationship, that's when things trigger you. Let's say it's not even the conflict itself, but the triggers of specific things that happen in the relationship. That's when you know in yourself the things that you kind of have to work, the things that you need to evolve to keep the relationship balanced. Let's put it that way, to have the relationship balanced. But what is the purpose of the relationship itself? That's a difficult one. Yeah, I really find it hard to give a specific meaning, to say like, oh, purpose of a relationship is to evolve yourself. Maybe, can be one of the things. To mirror to you, I think probably your answer is going to be... Yeah, no, go ahead. I don't want to put words in your mouth to start a conflict in the middle of the podcast.
Let's fuck this shit up, bitch. Okay, so, and I think you already gave the answer, and I agree with you on this. Like, it's not about, when I say purpose, that doesn't mean what am I going to get out of it. It's not like I have this outcome again. I have this goal that I need to achieve and I need to get something from the other person. To me, the purpose is actually the opposite. It's like, what can I bring to this relationship to help both parties evolve in order, like, to where they need to go? That's the purpose of relationship to me. And like you said, we go through different phases in our lives, through different stages with different people, and we learn different things. And I also think, especially when conflict arises, that's when we get confronted with those things. Usually it takes a certain amount of, let's call it pain or suffering, to really look at the stuff that is not working for us yet. So that's kind of like the guiding force for us to be like, oh, wait, there's this thing here that I really don't like. And then I again have a choice, and I can say, either point my finger and I say, this person is wrong, like it's their fault and they're not good enough for me. I'm just going to leave them now. I'm going to find someone better. I deserve better. Or I say, I point the finger at myself and I say, what is that pointing at in myself? Why am I getting triggered? Why is this such a problem to me? Right? What is happening inside of me? And kind of tying it back to the nice guy in my relationship with my wife, it was the conflict that I was trying so hard to avoid. And there came a point where I had to, and I knew this was not the ideal way of doing it, but I had to break out of this shell so hard that I had to say shit that was really hurtful, because I knew this would break me open, but also break her open. And some of the stuff was not very, you know how they say, calibrated, but it just needed to get out. It's almost like it was a process of refinement for me to get to a point where I can say things as they come up, like these mini firecrackers that we talked about. It's like, this thing is coming up, this is triggering me, and I just express it in that moment. But in order to get to that point, sometimes that means you have to first like blurt out a bunch of shit at really inconvenient times in order to even get to that place where you can be so authentic in the moment and just allow yourself to express whatever is coming through you. So that's what the purpose is. Like, there is no specific purpose. There's no defined purpose. It's like whatever is happening for you in your life right now with the people that are in your life, that's the thing that's required. And that's why I also say with romantic relationships, what is the ideal relationship for you? It's not like making this list and this is my dream woman and that's your ideal relationship. No, your ideal relationship is the one that you're currently in. That's the one. Because there's something in it that you still need to understand, that is going to allow you to evolve further. And maybe at some point you're going to be with this woman that checks all the boxes. But right now you're not with that woman yet because there's more stuff for you to integrate. And some key piece that I want to give to everyone is whatever you see, whatever is most attractive to you in a woman, that you see reflected in a woman that really turns you on, generally that is a sign that is something underdeveloped in you still. That's why there is this strong attraction. So once you start to give that to yourself, once you develop that in yourself, that's what this is for. The woman is just a mirror to you. The other people are just a mirror to you and saying like, here, this is what's going on. It has nothing to do with the other people. It's all in you.
This that you were saying reminded me of my past relationship, which, let's say for a year, we basically never had any discussions or any real conflicts, like really. But then when we had, was the only and the last one. And so that already gives like a light towards what I believe is the purpose of the conflicts and why they arise. They arise for a reason. They arise either to show something to you or to the other person, or both, probably both. Something that you need to reintegrate, and that sometimes you need to do that by not being in that relationship anymore. So it's not like you learn how to deal with conflict, you know that conflict is important. That doesn't mean that you need to stay in the conflict. And I learned this in the past when I was working with this other coach, where he would have discussions with the second coach every fucking day. Every day. They would not be able to sit together, to do any activity together without fighting with each other and being like, oh, you are triggering me. Oh, now you are triggering me and you are triggering me. And, you know, they created this idea that they need to work with every single trigger, that they need to make every single trigger, to reincorporate every single trigger all the moment, all the time, without just seeing that you are too different to be in this kind of friendship at the moment. You know, you are just like punching each other in the face all the time, without realizing that what you need to do is maybe some kind of distance. That's what you need in this moment. And that's when the conflict will point towards working together, sharing, evolving together, or it's time to move. It's time to go our separate ways. So it's not about quantity, like I said. Yeah, I had one conflict with my ex-girlfriend, and that was it. That was everything we needed to know. Okay, that's it, that's end. Now we go our separate ways.
Yeah, that was really powerful. And I think what this really is pointing at, it's so subtle, but what the thing is really the difference then between conflict that you want to stay in and conflict that you want to leave is, are you trying to control the situation or manipulate life or circumstances to get a certain outcome? And when conflict arises out of that, then it's usually a sign, okay, you need to change that. You need to stop manipulating. And like you said, maybe choose to go your separate ways. That's why we stay in relationships and there's so much conflict and we just want to make it work. And that's us trying to control it. That's us trying to manipulate the situation, right? And if we just decided and said, like, wait a minute, why am I trying so hard? What if I just let this go? And then the conflict would disappear. And other times, like, let's say for a nice guy, like it was for me, there were so many moments that I just wanted to leave the relationship. And I was like, man, I just want to get the fuck out of here. This is so uncomfortable. And I could not tell necessarily, is this me trying to control it? Or is this me trying to just run from it, trying to escape the discomfort? And I think that's where it can be really helpful to have someone else who has more awareness, who can see, who has gone through what you're currently going through, who can look at the situation and really tell you, no, 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 this is a time to actually stay in, or this is a time to actually let this go, right? That's why a guide, I don't want to call it mentor or coach, because it's not really like that we can just teach you all this stuff. Like you still have to go through it yourself. So all we can do is like guide you in those pivotal moments of your life where it's like either you go this direction and the trajectory is this way, or you go that direction and the trajectory is this way. And I think that is the main difference. Either you try to control it and conflict arises, or conflict arises because it's a required step for you to go through and to evolve through. So those are the nuances. Like that to me, I feel really sums it up. But maybe for you, there's something else.
And I think that's why when you say like a coach or a mentor, whatever, like a good one is not the one that is going to tell you what you need to do, but he's going to bring you back into alignment for you to make the decision that feels correct in the moment. And then it comes back to what you were saying before when we started this third part, where you said things in the moment to your ex-wife that maybe was too much, maybe was not calibrated, but in that moment it was aligned to the things that you had to do. So we can always look at the way we react. We can always look at the things that we did, and we can see, okay, yes, I can see now that that was not the correct thing to do. But if you judge yourself every moment as things comes to alignment in that moment, that's when you stop being legit. I was going to say legit, came into my mind, but that's not the word. You start, just, well, say be it yourself, but it's like now you are aligned. And that doesn't mean that you're going to get things correct all the time, but you're not afraid to follow this path and you adjust. And that's when like the life becomes, this amazing adventure, because you just follow things and you act in the moment and you are enjoying life. You're not wasting time thinking, about what I'm going to do, neither you were always thinking about what I did. It's like, okay, yeah, adjust, keep going. Okay, I did it again. Oh, adjust, keep going. And then everything opens up. And then conflicts will come, conflicts will go. Relationships will come, relationships will go, relationships will stay. But it's not the control over things. It's not the control over making sure everyone is having a good time. And like we said, this can change over time. You know, this conflict that happened in a relationship now, that's when you part yourself. That doesn't mean that in the future you meet each other again and you'll be like, oh, actually we work on our things. Can we start again? Maybe that makes sense for that moment. Maybe it doesn't. But it's never a planned thing. It's always an alignment. And I think that's the important thing for everyone, not only the nice guy, but the asshole. It's being aligned truly to your core. So yeah, the reason why we talk a lot about nice guy, and that might be triggering for you listening to this content because you really want to push that away, but it's just because they are the ones that tend to search more for this type of content. And I also think they are the majority nowadays in our society, especially in the West. But that doesn't mean that the asshole doesn't have to deal with this. He also has to deal with this. He also needs to learn that conflict for the sake of conflict is nothing. There's no reason to just start to have conflicts just because, oh, I'm an asshole. I'm gonna do everything that pisses everyone off. I'm gonna be like this, super polarized guy just because I want to make up for this other side. So in the end, it's not about being here or here, it's about being here, aligned.
Yeah, I think we sometimes get lost in this comparison and we say, especially because we want women and then we see, let's say, the quote unquote bad boy asshole type is just getting laid more and we say, I wish I was more like that, right? But it's vice versa too, like that guy. So for you as a nice guy, maybe you, like I said before, you're more in touch with your heart. You already know, like you can attune to another person more easily than maybe someone who doesn't even give a shit about feelings. And so it's like we all learn from each other. The bad boy asshole learns from the nice guy and the nice guy learns from the bad boy asshole. Like they all have traits that put them kind of like on the extremes of the spectrum, and we need both. That's what I said before. If you want to be a truly attractive man that also has a extremely fulfilling life, you need to come into balance and you need to unite the two. And one thing that I want to say where I kind of contradict a little bit to what you said earlier was when you said, looking back at some of the situations, so let's say what happened with my wife and it felt like I was not doing the correct thing, like looking back, I would actually say it's always the correct thing. It's just our lens with which we look at it and we say, oh, this could have happened differently. No, it couldn't have happened differently. It needed to happen. This was exactly the required thing that we needed to go through, both of us, in order to be where we are now. Mm-hmm. Because out of that, we learn, okay, maybe I don't have to say it in such a crass manner. Maybe I can be more calibrated. Maybe I can say it in a moment where the other person is more receptive. But that does not mean it was incorrect. It's never incorrect. And I think this is hugely liberating for a lot of us because we carry so much regret of things we did in the past. I think this is the biggest thing that's holding us captive. Even as the nice guy, it is something from the past that is now controlling the way we show up, out of fear of being perceived a certain way, out of fear of being criticized or mocked or being excluded from the group or abandoned even, right? Mm-hmm. And when we come back into the alignment that we talked about, we integrate all of these parts and we see what is the purpose of relationship. It's just to show us the parts where we're still imbalanced, where we still need integration. And when we do that, then we can actually show up healthily. We can have thriving, fulfilling relationships with ourselves first, and then also with the other people in our lives. Mm-hmm. So if that resonates with you and you want to learn how to bring yourself back into balance, how to integrate yourself fully so that you have access to all the parts that you currently are still, let's say, that are triggering you, that you're repressing, that you're not owning yet, And you have access to the parts of the nice guy that are already very appealing, access to your heart, access to your emotions, being empathetic and attuned. Then you can check out the Facebook group, which is somewhere linked down below, and you send me a message, and then we can talk about that. But I think to me, that really nicely wraps up like what is the purpose of relationships, and that conflict is an important and necessary step or tool in order to reflect back to us, here are the things we really need to focus on right now. We don't have to do everything at once, right? When conflict arises, and maybe it happens a bunch of times, that doesn't mean we have to juggle 500 things at the same time. We focus on the thing that's relevant right now. That's all we need to do. That's what's required, that is what's valid, and that's going to take us to the next step in our evolution.